An entitled Karen prevents me from getting on the subway, pushes me on the ground, breaking my phone, and just when she gleefully thinks she's getting away with it, she gets caught by the security guard. Here's what happened. My previous job was on the other side of my old home city, so I had to take the subway no matter what I did. And fun fact about this subway, it can be quite busy at certain times of the day, and today at this time was one of those times. And worst of all, it was right when I just wanted to go home. The first train I tried to catch was as full as a tuna can, and the second train had a little space. Next to me was an entitled Karen with a double buggy. When I finally wanted to get on the train, the entitled Karen looked at me and made a break for it. She ran unlike anything I've ever seen before, straight for the door, squeezing into the train and literally pushing me out of the doorway of the train. I could not believe that this was happening as I responded and said, "Hey, stop it, I just want to go home." This entitled Karen pushed harder and said, "Me and my kids also want to go home." As I was trying to explain to this lady that no, you do not need to push me out of the doorway, she says, "I don't want you to take this subway." She pushes me out of the way, this time onto the ground. The doors closed and the subway rolled away. The entitled Karen looks through the window and makes some idiotic gesture and shows me some very specific fingers out of the window of the train. She rolled away looking smug and satisfied as I slowly stood up, realizing I scraped my head. I looked down in my pocket and the entitled Karen also managed to break my phone with this action, so I could not even call the police if I wanted to. Thankfully though, there was a friendly old lady and a security guard close by who checked up on me almost immediately, asking me if I'm okay and if I needed any assistance. I told them that I was fine, and that the scratch wasn't that bad and that I would be fine. The security guard then told me to please take the next train to the next station and to visit the security office there. I thanked the security guard as well as the friendly old lady who helped me out, and the next subway arrived in about 20 minutes. The other security guard was writing a report about my statement I just gave him, as well as looked at the scratch on my forehead, while also recounting that they had security footage from inside the train, as well as the station where you can clearly see exactly what happened. The incident was reported to the police, and the entitled Karen had to pay for my new phone. Also, as icing on the cake, the entitled Karen was taking the train without a valid ticket. This entitled Karen, as a result of all of this, is now not allowed to be within 5 meters of me, and every time I see this entitled Karen on the train, she gives me this look of absolute defeat and disgust, and scurries away to use another compartment. Hopefully, I will never have to deal with this entitled Karen ever again. It is so nice to see justice come down on people who absolutely deserve it, and this entitled Karen certainly had it coming. She pushed somebody out of the train simply because she did not want them on the train. I mean, how petty and ridiculous can you possibly be to prevent someone from traveling home? That is honestly just ridiculous, and it's so good that the security guard as well as the security footage could prove that this lady did this, because there would have been nothing worse than this lady getting away with this and denying it even if she did file a report. So this is some beautiful karma that came her way, and hopefully this taught her a lesson that you can't treat people like this and expect to get away with it. I caught my girlfriend having regular phone calls with her ex-boyfriend. As a result, we broke up, but I'm thinking about getting back together with her. What should I do? My girlfriend and I have been dating for about 6 months. This entire time we've dated, I haven't sensed anything wrong. It's been the most stable, loving, healthy relationship I have ever had in my entire life. Last week, I caught her in a small lie. In order to cover up for that lie, she lied more and more, and it built this tower of lies that completely collapsed. I ended up breaking up with her over everything. Long story short, she's been having a secret friendship with her ex-boyfriend from years ago. They broke up because the relationship became stale. They stopped spending quality time together, if you know what I mean, and essentially just became friends. He's a rather shy and awkward guy and didn't have many friends, so she continued to be friends with him. They would regularly talk on the phone, like 2 to 3 times a week when we were not hanging out. To be fully honest, I don't care about her being friends with her ex-boyfriend. Relationships are complicated, and sometimes people feel the need to continue to be in someone's life, despite their past or whatever may have happened. But it's the lies and the deceit that made me end up breaking up with her. She lied to me so many times to cover up the fact that she's been calling him in secret. She did it throughout most of our relationship, even though she felt it was wrong. However, despite all of this, I still feel some sort of pull towards her that I've never felt towards any other woman in my entire life. I was so sure that she was the one, and all of this happened so suddenly. She has started therapy to try and figure out why she acted the way she did. She has shown me so much remorse and regret that I truly believe she doesn't want to act this way anymore. I'm so stuck on what to do. I don't feel like we should date right now because she needs to get her stuff figured out, but I don't want to move on either. I truly love this girl and it hurts so bad. Does anyone have any advice on how to handle this situation? What should I do? I honestly think you've made the right decision by breaking up with her. It's cool that she's gone to therapy to try and figure out her stuff, but I think you're probably best to move on from this lady. Honestly, she was obsessively lying to you about talking to her ex-boyfriend. And you said it best, you probably would not have cared about the situation at all, and you probably would not have cared if they were still friends even. But it's the fact that she would behind your back and lied so obsessively that made you feel like this just wasn't worth it. And in my opinion, I think you need to hold on to that feeling, because who knows what else she could lie about in this situation. I'm not implying that she is a liar by any means, but she did feel the need to lie about something like this, especially since it's connected to her ex-boyfriend. I mean, that just looks really sketchy. So overall, in my opinion, I would stick to what your plan is and honestly try and find ways to move on, because obviously you still have some kind of pull towards her, because I think in the end you actually really do like her, and I think to an extent that's okay. But anything further than that and actually going back to some kind of relationship would risk you being lied to again, and honestly you just don't need that, no matter how remorseful she actually feels. I found out that my girlfriend cheated on me, and I don't know how to move forward. My girlfriend and I have been recently going through a tough time. There were a bunch of lies that came to the surface, and we had been having issues, but we sat down and decided to tell each other the truth about everything, and that we would work on the relationship, as we've been together for 4 years already, and we're about to make it 5 in a couple of months. So giving up on the relationship wasn't that easy. After that discussion, everything seemed to be going pretty well. The communication, affection, and the whole mood overall of the whole situation felt much better, and we started being as it was back when the full love and issues weren't there. This felt amazing, and I was so happy to have a girl that's willing to work through things, and I was doing everything in my power to keep being the man she dreamed of. Fast forward about 2 months and everything is going great. We're still working on things and the relationship is going well. However, one day I had a terrible gut feeling for some reason, and my heart was incredibly heavy. She has a journal and I have never ever read it before, as that's such an invasion of her privacy, and I wouldn't want that done to me, but something in me just kept telling me that there was something there that I needed to see. I give in to my curiosity, and sadly, I did find something. Her latest entry was a prayer to God, asking for forgiveness and help. She laid out a lot of her wrongs in the journal entry, and also asked for his help to help her overcome all those wrongdoings and thoughts. She also stated that he keeps bringing good people into her life, and that all she does is hurt them. After reading a bit more of that entry, she says that she doesn't know if she's ever gotten cheated on by any of her past relationships, but that she has cheated on all of hers. The next sentence broke my heart into pieces, more than I could ever pick back up. She blatantly said that she cheated on me, and that she couldn't tell me, because if she did, she knew I would leave her for sure. After reading this, I didn't know what to do or to think, and honestly, I still don't know. I had thought we laid out everything about us, and wanted to start over with honesty being the top priority, but this broke me so much, because she had promised me she never did things while we dated. We both did things while we were on a long break, but we were honest about it and we understood. I'm the most understanding person ever if you're just being honest, but this huge lie she's hiding fully broke me. My issue during the relationship was that I looked at other women, and sometimes she caught me, but during the relationship I never flirted, kissed, or did anything scandalous with another female, if you know what I mean. I had the utmost respect when it came to that, and I knew me looking at other women was terribly wrong, and I knew it hurt her very much, and I constantly worked on stopping doing that, until eventually I didn't anymore. Her issue was being a liar. She would lie about big or small things, and I constantly kept catching her in her lies, to the point where she finally acknowledged it was a problem, and that she was trying to be more honest. We both had our issues like any other human being, and I understood that. That's why I was so willing to work through things, as we're all human and we make mistakes. All that matters is putting in the effort to be a better person. I forgive and forget a lot of things, but being cheated on is something I cannot forget or forgive at all. I have never felt this pain before in my life. This girl means so much to me. I saw her as being my wife and starting a family with her. She got so close to my family as well, and was the first woman my mom ever accepted as a decent girl. There was a whole future plan with this girl, and that sentence just broke all my visions. It hurts so much because for some reason, I still don't want to leave, all because of all the memories and the love I have for her. But how could I just forget that? And she won't even tell me about it. How would I confront her about it also? I invaded her privacy, but if I didn't do that, I would have never known that she had cheated on me. I don't know what the right choice is here. I'm so conflicted on what to do. I feel like leaving might be what's best for me, but it seems so scary and painful. Every day will feel empty, because she's been a part of my life every day for the past 5 years. My brain is so fogged, I'm barely sleeping, and I have to see her every day and act like I know nothing, while hurting inside in pure silence, all while she walks around thinking the relationship is going great. I have never felt so lost before in my life. What do I do? This is a really tough one, because you've got to know and understand deep down that this woman that you love so much absolutely cheated on you. She betrayed you behind your back, and worst of all, she has hasn't even told you about it. You have got to realize that that alone is a massive red flag, and in my opinion is a massive deal breaker. At that point, it doesn't matter how many years you've been with this lady. She cheated on you, not the other way around. She even admits in that journal entry that she has cheated on every partner she's ever had. This lady sounds like a serial cheater, and you were just another one of her victims. So I think regardless of what you choose to do, you really need to understand that first and foremost. I know if I was in your situation, there's no way I would stick around with this lady, especially after finding out her past, as well as what she's currently done to me. So honestly, I hope you do find some peace and happiness in your life, because I can tell you, unless this is addressed and some way resolved, you're probably not going to find that peace anytime soon. I made a huge mistake dating in my friend group, and now I'm pretty sure I need to find a new group of friends. As the title says, I messed up pretty bad. I dated my now ex-boyfriend in my first year of college in my friend group. Everyone thinks he's a super nice guy, and everyone had this amazing perception of our relationship, which honestly is my biggest issue right now, because it is not as perfect as people thought it was. He was so affectionate, so everyone thought we were really cute together, and I liked it at first. Then he told me I love you less than a week into our relationship, and then he started to say I'm going to marry you 2 months in. At this point, I started getting really uncomfortable. I told him my boundaries a couple of times, but he just brushed it off, so I just gave up. Whenever we would run into our little relationship issues, he would become so self-loathing that I practically had no choice but to drop the subject and instantly forgive him out of guilt. Plus, there were a couple of breaches of trust. When he shared information I told him in confidence to my mom, he was also pretty immature with his actions after we broke up. He started spreading lies to our friends about me, and when I blocked him on basically every platform known to existence, he disrespected my boundaries by somehow emailing my school email. And this has actually happened another time when we went on a break a month before the breakup. So what's my issue here? I never want to see or hear from him ever again. The only people who understand me are my hometown friends, since the majority of my college friends are also close with him. They have this perception of him that he is this perfectly amazing, fun, sweet guy, and honestly just brush off whatever I've been saying about the breakup, to the point where I'm giving up on telling them. It's either they defend him or I don't even know what to bring up to them. I'm so tired of them putting him on a pedestal that he doesn't deserve with the way he treated me. They refuse to listen or offer any support to me. I'm not trying to kick him out of the group. I just need them to stop seeing him as this perfect person, which he absolutely is not. Literally, one of them told me that before we started dating, she said that she saw absolutely no flaws with him and that he would be the perfect boyfriend for me. Would I honestly just be better off getting new friends next year? I would say I'm pretty sociable, so it honestly wouldn't be awful. It would just be a lot of work. I'm just trying to decide if it would be worth it. What should I do? First off, I don't think you're going to be able to make any of these supposed friends feel any differently about your ex-boyfriend. You unfortunately can't make people see things from your perspective, especially when you know the truth about how this guy actually is, and these people are just not getting it. But honestly, real friends would have your back, and they would try to understand where you're coming from. But it sounds like they're also really good friends with this guy, so I don't think they're going to be swayed by what you have to say anytime soon. While I don't think you need to give up on them being your friend, I think it is important for you to find more friends that you can also hang out with. This can get you some solid options if those friends actually do start taking his side and only his side, which would be really unfortunate, but you know what? If they do make that decision, then that's honestly all you need to see, because that will show some true colors, and you'll know for a fact that no, I don't want these people in my life. Today, I messed up by reading my wife's journal. This didn't happen today, but more like a couple of months ago, and this is honestly such a big mess up. To provide some context, for the past 3 years, I have been working a very grueling and time-consuming job in sales, as well as marketing and recruiting. While working in that field, I got real low, like lower than I've ever been. I had little to no time off, and when I did, I was working from home. Regrettably, I started drinking more than usual. I didn't like it, but it had a hold on me that I couldn't shake. I was never aggressive when I was under the influence, but according to my wife, I became overly affectionate when I was under the influence, which I thought wasn't a bad thing, so I convinced myself I didn't have a huge problem. And my wife never said anything other than the occasional sigh whenever she saw me drinking. At one point, I was sober for 6 months, and I honestly felt great, but it didn't last. Growing up, we have always been very trusting of each other and very open with each other about how we feel about arguments or things that upset us from the past 10 years. In short, we have phenomenal communication and are very considerate of each other's feelings. We have honestly rarely ever had arguments, and when we did, it was very quickly resolved. We took proper steps to communicate to each other and to explain exactly what upset us, as well as to apologize and to make amends and to tell the other person I'm sorry and I love you. We really practice real, sincere apologies from both of us every time, and for the past 10 years, it worked perfectly. Fast forward to more recently, and I changed jobs, and as as a celebration, we went on an amazing trip, just the two of us. And this was all to make up for the lost time that we didn't get the chance to share together. It was both of our idea, and I had saved up enough, so we just packed up and left. Everything was amazing, and we had such an amazing time. We still talk about it to this day. While on the trip, I was letting my phone charge because it ran out of power while using Matt's all day and driving. So she let me use hers to watch movies on her phone as she was falling asleep. I was watching a few episodes and some movies, and I remembered a while ago that I saw in her memo application a note labeled thoughts or what's on my mind. But out of the entire memo application, it was the only note that was locked. Back then, our anniversary was coming up, and she always jokingly said that if I didn't know what she wanted, that she has a list on her phone that she can give me. But I knew that this locked section was not that. From past discussions with my wife, I knew that this locked note was actually her journal. I remember at one point I even asked her if I could read some of it, only to get shot down and said, "No honey, that's personal." At the time, I didn't really care, but I was still curious. But now that I had the phone right in front of me and we're on this trip, curiosity flooded my mind. So I go to this note and it asks for a password when you try to go into it. After a few tries of trying anniversary dates as well as birth dates, I finally decided to use one of our cat's names as the password, and lo and behold, it opened. My heart started racing and I felt my body perk up. I checked if she was still asleep, and she was. Just one entry, I thought. Just one and I'll close it. So I start to read, and the more that I read, the more I regret. She had entire entries dated, and the most recent one was a full-on rant about all of my flaws, my insecurities, and my bad habits. Things that I attributed to depression from overworking and just having no drive to do anything. She picked me apart more and more each entry, and I just couldn't even understand. I don't want to share what she said, as it was all hits on my personal insecurities that she knows hurts me. So why? Why not communicate this to me and talk to me about it? I worked from 6 a.m. to almost 11 o'clock p.m. every day, and I hated it because I had no time to help around the house or to be there with her, but she insisted that she understood and that she didn't care. We often communicated about it, and she always ended it with, "I'll always be there for you no matter what. We're in this together." But in her thoughts, she calls me a lazy drunk, as well as a good for nothing, saying how I don't help enough and that she cleans up after me. There was so much more that dug very deep and really hurt, and even though I hated it, I completely understood. My mind was focused on work literally 24/7. I helped where I could, but deep down I felt it wasn't enough. I drank a lot and regrettably felt too tense without it. She had every right to be mad, but it still hurts. There was more, but I closed it and just sat there. I don't cry at all, but I'll admit I did tear up a bit. I didn't want to ruin our trip, so I kept it to myself and never confronted her about it. But starting the next day, I did everything on the trip. Driving, cooking, preparing clothes for her, everything. Anything I could, I did it all. She even started bragging to her mom and friends who called while we were on the trip. She would tell them that I was making her feel like a queen and that I've been doing everything on the trip, which honestly made me feel good. And it made me feel like I was making up for all that I didn't do in the past 3 years, even if just in a small way. I've carried on this way for months now, and I can see changes in our relationship in a very positive way. More positive affirmations from each other and deeper love. But I can't help but think about how she actually feels about me at my lowest point, and I wonder what she thinks of me right now. I regret reading her journal, and I feel I betrayed her trust by reading it. But I honestly didn't think I would find out what I did. So yeah, don't mess up like me and don't read your spouse's journal. You'll be happier if you don't. That is definitely a rough one to deal with because journals are like the one thing that you really don't want to read from somebody else. In most cases, it's literally somebody's pure, unfiltered thoughts that they really didn't want anybody else to see. So I really feel for you in this situation. But from the sounds of it, you guys have a fantastic relationship. Your communication is on point, and honestly, that journal probably was just there so she could get her feelings out of her head, put it down on pen and paper, so to say, and then to turn it around, have a positive attitude, and try and work on the relationship that she does have. It honestly sounds like she took some steps in order to cope with the things that you were dealing with at the time, and in my opinion, that is absolute evidence that she loves you and wants to keep the relationship on solid footing. Obviously, she didn't want you to see these feelings because they're not something that she wanted to share with you. These are things that she was keeping to herself because she didn't want to hurt you, and maybe just getting it out of her head and writing it down probably really did help her in the long run be a better partner to you, and vice versa. So I really wouldn't feel bad about how she did feel about you, but instead focus on how she acts and treats you now. And from the sounds of it, you have a fantastic relationship. I think you've learned a very valuable lesson about respecting people's privacy, and next time, respect her privacy and boundaries, because crossing that line is only going to cause friction in your relationship. Thanks for watching. When you subscribe, make sure to hit the bell to turn on notifications. To finish listening to all the stories, use the playlist at the top of the description, and the next time you live stream, use the Cream of the Crop music. Search Cream of the Stream on Spotify or whatever platform you use for copyright-free music to use for your next stream.